And
he may
puppets could take over at any moment. They take
That's
over
right.
your show. They could be trolling. Listen, get your puppets under control down there, Ironcaster. We don't do that around here. So yeah, let's talk martial arts. Let's have some fun tonight. Yeah, be good to get back into the routine. Hope everybody's doing well. So you still doing cold opens, Loki? How's this going?
It's going good. It's going good. I like it. I'm enjoying it. It's fun.
Yeah. All right, that's good. Well, it's great to be back and have some normalcy again. I did not create an intro, but I thought we'd reminisce about shenanigans afoot.
Are you guys familiar with Amy Farrah Fowler from Big Bang Theory? She's the little sister, Ginger Farrah Fowler. That's all I kept thinking when I saw her. She's basically like a ginger version of Amy Farrah Fowler.
I kept calling her not as fat as Tilly. She's not as fat as Tilly. And then it's just... I think I broke Pops.
You need an abbreviation for that or something. I'm not sure I can keep saying with a straight face.
NFT?
Not as fat as Tilly is talking to Commander Captain.
Is this what an NFT is?
Yeah, oh yeah.
There we go. So yeah, NFTs in Talk Hard means something different than it does for all of you at home. So live and learn.
We learn new things.
Yes, we are. We are always redefining things the best we can, one show at a time. So I hope everybody out there is doing well. Thanks for all the well wishes during Hurricane Week last week. We'll have a little bit of normalcy this week, but because of the holiday, that even isn't going to happen to extremes. I did also hear, and I don't know the exact date. Pat didn't answer me. Happy birthday. Don't know if it's today or soon, Pat, but happy birthday to you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for all that. Chris Burge is here holding everything down for us, the triumvirate of Pops, Loki, and Ironcaster. Hail to you, my brother, in the Great White North. Hopefully you're doing well. So got a cold drink, sitting in a comfy chair. Let's good times begin. Amen, brother. That's the way to do it. I wish we could have a Chris Persia cam, like behind the chair, right, Loki? Like we could get him in the chair watching, doing the mod work or something.
Yes.
Oh, you know what it is? The littles watched Inspector Gadget. You know how you'd always do Dr. Claw? We'd see like the hands moving, but he was always off camera. That's what we need with Chris. Chris, we need a Dr. Claw Chris Persia cam, the Persia cam. So just consider it. You're just here. We don't have to, it's kind of like Critical Drinker now has the Critical Doggo, like he has a Doggo cam. Everyone, my wife was like, oh, you could put a cam with one of the dogs. I'm like, no, they're not going to behave for that. So
will he have a Persian cat though?
It's got to be like on a beach with like a little table, a drink, looking at the waves, just a hand right there. Occasionally reaches over and like grabs the drink so you can sip it. You can hear the clinking of ice.
Maybe
puts it back.
Yeah. All right. Penny's here. Hey, lady. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. And let's talk about Hero, the Jet Li version, possibly one of the most underrated of all of the martial arts movies. And I don't mean that as far as like, I'm dissing on the Shaw Brothers or a Bruce Lee movie. I'm just talking about like an actual highbrow, Oscar-worthy, cinematography level, high, sort of like a high fantasy almost creation of a film of this type of genre. And doesn't get the love it needs. I forget who brought it up first. I know chat is always throwing out movies. I know we've talked about it several times, so it's been fun to do that. So with that, Ironcaster, where are you at on watching Heroes? Is this your first watch? Have you been seeing it for a while? What are your thoughts?
This was a movie I actually got a chance to see in theaters back in like 2002 when it came out. So this was like something I was well aware of.
Okay.
Like, I think I was hanging out with a friend who was like way more into martial arts than I was, and just like, hey, let's go hang out this Friday and see a movie. I'm gonna go see this, hero movie. It's like, all right,
cool, very cool. Yes, I don't remember being in theaters right away. It came to theaters much later. I thought a couple years later, actually, from its initial release. Thanks to Quentin Tarantino.
Yes.
So we'll definitely probably have to swim around that a little bit because it definitely become like a big deal because of that. Loki, what about you, my brother? You were definitely probably saw this in a theater.
I had heard about this before it ever came to the U.S. A huge martial arts fan, so I was absolutely hyped when I heard that Quentin Tarantino had convinced them convinced Miramax specifically to bring this to the U.S. I couldn't believe it. I was absolutely hyped. I'm one of the people that went and saw it in the theater. I loved Jet Li at the time. I was a huge Jet Li fan. So I was stoked going into this, and it does not disappoint.
Yeah, I really I just couldn't believe like so this is in the wake of Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which of course was like a game changer here in the States for people who are not familiar with wire work, martial arts type films, and sort of like an artsy cultural nature to it that kind of at least made the genre more popular for a minute. This film, of course, got greenlit and moved forward pretty quickly. And I think it really helped Tarantino go, listen, we got this one too. Let's just do this one. So I was very thrilled to see this land in the States. And I got to be honest, I just felt a very similar reaction rewatching it that I did back then. And that was just the awe of the cinematography and the technical aspects of everything, how beautifully it was executed in so many ways. So Jacob Ironside's here. Hey there, brother. Hope you're doing all right. Things are going good for you, my friend. This movie is behind a paywall. Oh, okay. I owned it, so I don't know. I actually saw it for sale on like Prime, I think, for like $5. I troll my movies anywhere to look for something that might be on the cheap. Just every now and again, you get a good deal on Vudu and things like that. So Penny, if you're interested, if you liked Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, this would be a movie for you as well. It's basically exact same sort of genre of that kind of film. So, but that would be the cheapest I've seen it, but I don't know what the expiration date was on that sale. That was pretty like a week ago, maybe. So, all right. So, Ironcast, I don't know if you want to pull something up that we can share as far as images or trailer footage or something like that, or if you have the whole thing loaded. Basic premise: dude shows up. Culturally, just is incredible immersion of the Chinese culture. I mean, first off, the scale of the amount of extras, thousands and thousands of extras who were actual soldiers, right? I mean, you guys are kind of fact check me on that, right?
I'll try to.
Yeah, they got actual soldiers to play many of the soldiers. That's what I read. So
I didn't know you were asking a question. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they did.
So Jet Li's character shows up. He goes by Nameless. There's a little bit of narration, and he's there to approach the king because he has taken care of the top 3 assassins, delivering their weapons as sort of like a display and an homage to him. And then there's sort of like a recounting of how that would even happen. And as he's recounting these stories of his fight with assassin number 1, he gets to move closer and closer to this king because they're keeping him within so much distance to keep the king safe. So that's pretty much the setup for the film as it sort of kind of kicks off. Great shot here right out of the gate of just like the scale of this film. This is not, I don't know, you guys speak to this because I thought of Star Wars and how bad some of like the modern CGI trooper scenes and stuff are and things like that. It's like they just don't hold up well at all compared to something like this. I just felt so immersed into this world. I couldn't believe it.
Oh yeah, no, this is just a beautiful scene. I mean, even just what's interesting is like the colors it's very muted for the color palette, but you're just kind of in awe of just this sea of bodies of soldiers waiting on order for this emperor to protect him, to enact his will, and all of them standing as one lone figure approaches.
Loki, I guess we should let's try to go through at least explaining a little bit for someone who doesn't know. We're going to try to stay away from some of the spoilery twist stuff, and we'll let you know when we get to that point in the story. In case you want to watch it. So we're really not talking about anything that's out of the norm here, and that is that the film has a very unique approach to a color palette. The color palette is associated with chapters of the film. So in the early part, it's a lot of black and muted colors, as Ironcaster said. But for different chapters, there's a red sequence and a blue sequence and a white sequence, and they all mean different things to evoke certain types of emotions. And it's done in such a beautiful, elegant cinematography way that it's sort of like, I don't even know how to put it into words.
No, absolutely. And this guy you're seeing right here, this is the king. This is the head honcho, and he has had multiple assassination attempts on his life. Multiple people have tried to kill him. The army you saw out front, they are all there to protect his life, to keep him alive. He is the head banana. He's in charge. Everyone there is loyal to him. He knows they are loyal to him. And he could trust every single one of them to protect him and save his life if needed, to die in battle. Whatever it is that they are called upon to do, they will do. And Jet Li, the lone figure you saw out in front of that giant army, is supposed to be one of his prefects that is coming to tell him about the deeds he has done and how he is going to be safe in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I really love the stylish nature of this. In hindsight, this is aged so well with this sort of like concept of the throne room, with this sort of like, you know, sea of candles that separates him from whoever is in the court, and this massive courtroom and throne room and things like that. This has aged exceedingly well for me. I just couldn't believe it. Gord Keane says this movie stands as one of the best theatrical experiences I've ever had. Visually splendid, the Rashomon style storytelling, incredible choreography. This is a masterpiece. Gord, that's why we selected it. Couldn't agree more, brother. Could not agree more. Yeah. And this is a film. I mean, I don't know about Ironcaster. You guys, Loki, you guys speak to it, but this is a film. People, even in our circles, no one's talking about this movie. I kind of like quickly got a little search to see, and I didn't come up with any of our sort of like close circles who've like talked about this film, at least not recently.
And that's pretty impressive too, considering what this movie is about, and how it basically is about. I mean, this movie exemplifies the idea of globalism and bringing all that information under your control and deciding what is and what isn't, including history, including how people are remembered. It's up to that one guy you saw on that throne room to decide how everything's going to be. And if it is his will is not done, then you die.
Yeah.
Plain, simple, period. No ifs, no ands, no buts. You don't do what he wants. You don't do it how he wants. And that's it. You're done.
So this is the first sequence that I was talking about, where he's going to recount his elimination of this assassin played by Donnie Yen. You saw the wire work shot there where they're, you know, kind of floating through air, the fantastical elements. And by the way, if anyone likes this movie, I don't want to hear how you don't like the fantastical elements of like RRR or Bahubali, because it's the same kind of premise of this sort of like, you know, supernatural, superhuman type stuff where they can defy gravity and things like that, because it's basically the same kind of thing, just culturally a different setting.
I mean, this is ultimately a sort of a dramatization of a historical event that had happened. This movie. This is a retelling, effectively turning it into like a myth of the people of the nation, of an actual assassination attempt that was made upon the emperor's life, of the first emperor.
And one of the things you have to remember is almost none of what you see going on is actually happening live. All of this is a retelling. They're telling the story in the movie. So the majority of what you see isn't what may have actually happened. You're hearing someone tell a tale.
Right. And that's where the story gets fascinating, because then it starts to push you. Because I got to be honest, as I was rewatching it, it's like, okay, this is where we're going. And then you start kind of like, is that really what happens next? I don't remember. Like, so it starts to get you questioning what actually plays out versus what the story goes, and who can you trust and what was the actual truth. And we kind of work through that with the character and the audience as well. So I thought that was done very, very well. So.
And every color in this movie, like Pop said, when things change color, they all mean something. They all stand for something. So if you're seeing something with a lot of reds in it, there's a point behind that. If you're seeing something with blues in it, there is a point behind that. No matter what color they used it. It all had meaning. So, like, blue would represent reason and friendship.
Yep.
Red was desire and jealousy. White, balance, reason, and truth.
Yep. Yeah, and the use of shadows and darkness and flashbacks become green and things like that. So, the creative team behind this, which was Zhang Ziyi and Christopher Doyle, did cinematography, and they really wanted sections with different types of colors. They didn't want to use pinks. They didn't want to do oranges. And then we're going to get to a couple of shots as we move through this where there's other elements that kind of make this even more complicated. This cinematography, though, this was a blast. Right, guys? This is just a blast to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just to let Pat S know, there is a English version of this out there. You can get a dubbed version. So if you don't want to read throughout the movie and subtitles, you can actually hear what they're saying.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I've never watched the dub, so I don't know. Do you have it dubbed?
On DVD, I believe I do. I didn't watch it on DVD though, and I watched it with the subtitles because I like that version of the movie. But
yeah. All right. So then we move through different assassins and different stories of how he would do these things. These assassins also have little backstories that are sort of like explained briefly and then shown to you. Right. So again, in contrast to modern cinema, where it's going to be, we're going to tell you this guy is great or she's awesome, and then we just kind of move on. Here, we mention those kinds of fear in these kinds of things in the sense of fear, like, oh, they took out 9,000 of my soldiers, and then we're going to have a sequence and show you how insane portions of those battles were. It's completely nuts. The scale. This is not CGI'd. They got Chinese fighters to be all these extras. It's completely madness. I guess I was rich. I double checked my note. 18,000 extras. 18,000. Yeah.
They had to start painting horses black so they could have a uniform look to them all.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. They temporarily dyed their hair so they would look black. Yeah, it is like you said, Loki, like look at the way the color creates a distinct emotional mystery, right? With the fog at the feet, the black shadows with a red flag, your eye, and then of course in the backdrop, these mountains, and you're like, whoa, this looks so menacing and so intense. Love it.
I think this might be one of my favorite shots in the movie, just from all the layers of imagery to this.
When they do the calligraphy, that I lost my shit. When they were doing the calligraphy scenes and the arrows are coming in.
I don't even know how I could pick one sequence. The blue, the blue sequence, the going around the room. I don't know. I don't know that I could pick it. We could do another video on the top 10 moments of Hero and try to figure out, like, let's make nominations of scenes and then try to figure out how to debate and argue or order them. But yeah, obviously this is a red sequence, which is in a calligraphy school. And the calligraphy school becomes under attack at one point, which is what Loki's talking about, which becomes just insane. So again, on scale.
Just to show you guys briefly a website I'm kind of pulling some of these off of. It's a website called Screen Musings, which is going through and went to this. And what's kind of interesting with this, as I'm kind of looking at this website a little bit, they're even like showing you the color palette.
Oh wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I looked for it over on Screen Caps. I didn't see it. So this was called Screen Musings. Again, Screen Musings. Okay.
And yes, there is an English language track version. There is a dub version.
Okay.
Not every single one of these does have that though, but I found it interesting to find a couple of them that do have that for the color palette.
Okay. I'm interested to see as we go through the film how different those palettes are going to look, because it was obviously very clearly done and designed. So back to the close shot of the army that those two assassins will be facing and the school will be facing.
course, we have one of our assassins
there we go.
who's defending the school bravely.
Yeah. So obviously we talked a little bit about this. We were talking about 300 with the arrows blocking out the sun. This is Flying Snow. She and Broken Sword, who's the other assassin, they're lovers, and they're the ones that kind of go up on the roof, and there's like a balcony area. And they kind of basically are defending the school or minimizing some of the attack from some of these arrows. And you're really, what you're getting is a showcase of their skill set, right? I mean, that's what the focus is here, Loki, right?
Right. And seeing, basically a few standing against thousands.
Yeah, like two.
Yeah.
2 versus thousands. It's nuts. And that was talked about briefly, and now you're seeing it, and you see that sequence as well. But this is another sequence where we see how powerful these two individuals really, really are.
So to kind of bring in a little bit of the story itself, or some of the events that were going on through this, Jet Li's character has told the Emperor his story about how he was able to basically break up these great assassins and been able to get them off their element by going and eliminating the first one, the one with this sky spear or broken spear, I think his name, they called him.
Yeah.
Only to then go.
His name was Sky, Long Sky.
To then
they broke the spear. The tip of the spear was his weapon, and they presented that as his trophy. Yeah.
To then go and reveal to the other two, this couple, that she had an affair with him, thus pitting the two against one another so that he could capitalize on this, so he could eliminate these two assassins while having to put in as little effort as possible.
Yeah, and it plays out even better than he expects, because one starts turning on the other one. He didn't have to do anything, and then that kind of creates an emotional state to get the upper hand on another one. And there is another character that we haven't really talked about. Her name is Moon. She is now the new apprentice here and lover. Well, not really a lover per se, but she's taken as a lover for the scene to Broken Sword. She actually obviously cares about him, but he's just using her in this scene.
And this directly connects to Sun Tzu's Art of War, which is when you see a vulnerability in your opponent or your opponents, irritate that vulnerability, meaning bring it to light, bring it out, and use it to manipulate them so that you have the opportunity to win, which is exactly what Jet Li, in this retelling of how he defeated them in different stories, mind you, over the course of this movie, is how he did it. He irritated both of them and turned them against one each other, and opened up their vulnerabilities and used it to his advantage.
Mm-hmm. And this shot, we're going to be into again recounting the story of him telling everyone how he killed these assassins or got them to turn on one another. And this shot is very, very like subtly brilliant, because she's actually like pushing through a wall. Like it's just done all very, very well. Really, really enjoyed this sequence. Your Muslim uncle, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much. So, Loki, what was your thoughts rewatching something like this so many years later? Because you've probably seen this multiple times.
Oh yeah. In fact, I probably watched this about 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I think we were doing I was doing a guest stream for somebody then when I watched it before. And no, it's a treat. It's an absolute treat. The only thing I wish, I had a bigger screen, which I am working on. A bigger screen and a better sound system to watch and experience all of this, because it's beautiful. You are watching a film that is made up of story and paintbrush. It's like they paintbrush this entire movie, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. They took cinematography and created a whole nother level with the artistry that went into it, which, I mean, I cannot blame Quentin Tarantino at all for saying, you have to release this movie. You have to get this out. It has to be released in theaters. You don't know what you're missing if you don't. So,
Yeah, it's a very it's really in that underrated gem category. Even the cinematographer, because he really loves like martial art types movies and things like that. It's all unheralded stuff. So, all right, Ironcaster, let's keep moving through our action sequence here. Look at this color palette. We are immersed in our red sequence for sure.
I was commenting in our little private chats that the subsequent year that after this came out was Hideo Kojima's Metal Gear Solid 3. And for anyone out there who's played that knows about the fight with
Scene
the boss
at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Where in the field of flowers that turns red with her death. It's like I'm watching this feeling like that would have been something that Kojima might have been drawing inspiration from say this particular film.
Steven Ransom is here as well. Hey there, brother. And your Muslim uncle says, love this movie, and my wife calls it the Sword in the Water movie. Loved it. That's funny. Awesome. And we will get to that sequence because holy cow, is that got a story. Is it done in 4K? Don't know.
Blu-ray, I think, is the best you can get it in. I'll double check real quick. I had it pulled up just a second ago. But I'm pretty sure Blu-ray is the best you're going to get it in. Yeah. Well, there is a multi-format. Hold on. No, it's just Blu-ray and digital.
Yeah, I don't see. Again, this is a cash cow for them, but again, it could be because of the Chinese elements and ownership rights or something like that that could be tied and holding it up, but needs to be transferred.
This is another example of one of those shots where you get you get to see the color palette. This is the kind of movie that really should be used to sell like 4K TVs. You'll never see rich colors as rich as these. Your blacks will be as truly black.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know if you have another shot of this lake. So we got to talk about this lake for a minute. We have drifted away from real filmmaking when you talk about this sequence. So in order to film the water being this still, they could only film between 10 a.m. and noon each day. So the crew would have to get up. They would be up at 5 a.m. prepping all these shots. They'd have 2 hours to do each one of these shots because the water needed to be perfectly still for this sequence. Completely magical cinema, right? Just breathtaking, this sequence. Give another shot. Yeah. Well, that's the mountains, him jumping, but
a little limited from the site.
Yeah. I feel like we should almost like find some of the water sequence. Maybe we shouldn't spoil it. I don't know. Too many great films yet to see a 4K release. Yeah, I know, Gordon King. Yeah. So, yeah.
And some of that is because of special effects. Some of those special effects shots can't be upscaled correctly in 4K. And some of them, you don't want to see them in 4K. If you thought that last Matrix, those last couple of Matrix movies were bad in 1080p, they look even worse in 4K. I don't know why they released them like that without going back over them and fixing all of the horrible CGI they used, but they should have before they release that stuff on 4K. Because you can see it's dated. It looks horrible.
All right, Cash. Let me try to share this. I pulled up this lake sequence just to show a couple shots. Okay. So let me do that. Okay. So the overlay doesn't work quite as nice here, but this is the Sword in the Lake that Gord was making comments about. But notice the water is just perfectly still in these movements. Isn't that crazy how beautiful that looks? Here we go. Here's our shot.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's so incredible. We don't make movies like that right now.
Even like the choice of like the camera location with the framing of this.
Mm-hmm.
You get just the right amount of red to help offset the color with it kind of framed just right so that they're in this little open spot between the trees.
Creative creatives can't even conceive of stuff like this today. Creatives in the U.S., they can't. They cannot conceive of this today.
This is From Under the Water. I saw Roger Ebert. So I was looking for other reviewers, like who has actually, cause I didn't want to listen to any reviews, but I wanted to know who else has reviewed it, like in our circles, like I mentioned. And I was shocked to find a Roger Ebert review from back in the day. And he mentioned this shot, this sequence. He goes, this was just incredible. This under the water sequence. And it just truly is just breathtaking. Look at how still everything is. Look at these shots. Yeah. Yeah. Jacob mentioned he hasn't seen this yet. I'm just telling you. Oh, so this is the other piece that Ebert mentioned. And I got to be honest. I rewound to watch this part twice. I can't believe I'm such a nerd. This is them battering water back and forth. Like, it's so incredibly done well that I don't even know what to say. It lands on her face. And then here we go. More running on the water. The wire work. There's the blues. So, yeah. Little dose. Don't want to get too much into copyright territory there. But, yeah. If you get a chance, Jacob, yeah, just, earmark it, see if you can track it down. Penny says she's got to get a copy from her local library. Penny, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon would be the closest film. It's basically got greenlit or fast track probably because of that film's success. So, Christian Random Geek from across the pond. Hey there, brother. Hope you're doing well. Love this film. Great to have you. And it definitely is one we should talk a lot about. I think it's a great film, indeed. So. All right, Ironcaster, where are we at on some other stills and other things here? Get that pulled up. Oh, this is one of my favorite sequences. We're talking about favorite sequence. Look,
Yep.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I can not pick, because even when I watched it and I knew what was going to happen, I still had like a response when this happened. When everything collapses and you're like, "Oh my god!" Like, it's so freaking cool. Can't we just have cool stuff? Like, I want cool things. I want to have a good time. Oh.
Now, the closest thing I saw to this recently was a video of a guy in like a toilet factory. And they're going to set the toilet up on the shelves. And then the one shelf collapses and takes down all the ones off that shelf. And then the next one over to it starts to collapse. And it's like, you're just watching a whole, like the length of a warehouse, one by one, the shelves falling and all this.
That's funny.
It's funny you mentioned that. When I was still working for welding supply company, driving a truck, I had a boss that went to put 5,000 pounds welding rod up on a shelf. It was the top shelf. Oh, no. And it had a wire grate. And I said, dude, that's not going to work. And this was like the third store that I worked at, because I worked at multiple stores. And he was like, it's going to work. It's going to work. And when it crashed through those wire shelves and fell, he was like, well, you got to come over here and help me. And I just turned around and was like, no, I don't. That's your mess. You cleaned it up, buddy.
This is readily available through digital. Right now, evidently not free. I did check what Penny said. I did see it for $5 still over on Prime. If anybody who has a Prime account wants to get it that way. I don't know what the pricing is on anything else. Is he possessed by a nine-tailed demon? Yeah. Well, it's part of the story. This is that genre. So, great example of a story within a story. Amen, brother. An imagination of listener to narrative. It is such an interesting, almost like, I feel like I'm watching like a movie of folklore. Like, how you have we would hear folklore of, this was passed down verbally around the campfires and all that kind of stuff. I'm getting a theatrical cinematic version of that, but with some of the most incredible cinematography. Probably, I don't know, we'd have to create a list, but I don't know how I could not include this on like the 10 most underrated, cinematography feats or whatever. This is going to be one of those films. This is so incredible when you get the color palettes and the metaphors and you let it sink in and you let it really drive how the characters are different and things like that. It's just great. And this imagery, I mean, just literally the Chinese emperor imagery is just breaking the story. Like, okay, stop for a second. He's just gonna like, no, wait a minute. So now we're gonna get into a little bit of spoilery type stuff. But so before we get there though, because I think this is when it starts to kind of shift the narrative a little bit. Anybody want to say anything else before we let anybody know we're gonna go into spoilery type stuff? Anything else we want to say before then to those folks?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. This is sort of that. This is honoring some of the history of China. This is that, like, one of those legends of, you know, the only thing this is missing is the elder of the family telling the younger ones about, you know, part of the history of you know, them as a people, saying, but the emperor was too wise. He knew the story he was being told was not the truth.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, Loki, your last thoughts before we kind of like let people know this is where we get into spoilery type stuff if you don't want them. I'm not sure even if you know the spoilers, it ruins the movie, because this is a movie that's more about the experience of it rather than some sort of like magical twist that changed things. But just for folks who want a more of a pure experience.
I mentioned before Sun Tzu's Art of War.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen this movie, dig into that book a little bit. It's not that long. You'll get some really good life lessons out of it, trust me, and you will have a deeper appreciation of this film after you read that book.
Also, just as a brief footnote, 2002, the year this was was released, was a really packed year for films.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, The Two Towers, Attack of the Clones, you had a Harry Potter movie, Men in Black 2, Die Another Day. The list goes on. There's a lot of really great movies that came out this year that are all 21 now.
Yeah, it's a very solid movie for sure.
Well, this didn't come out until 2004.
Yeah, it didn't hit.
It came out in China. It came out in China in 2002. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get it until 2004, which is not a bad year either, by the way. So,
I mean, we're still looking at, like, Spider-Man 2, Passion of the Christ, Day After Tomorrow, Troy,
Harry Potter movie. Yeah.
So not quite as packed as 2002, but
yeah,
it's a solid year nevertheless.
Yeah, and this is one of those where it did really well for a few weeks. It got snubbed by all the Oscar people. It got a nomination for foreign film, and then it got snubbed for that too by some German film no one's ever heard of. So it just kind of fell off the radar, whereas Crouching Tiger was the thing. And then that was it. And then we just didn't want to honor that. We kind of like do like the, pat on the booty and yeah, you're good. So, okay. Before we move on, Pat S is keeping your dossier, Loki, just in case you're working on your resume, you have your crash on your resume. Pat's working on it, evidently. He's keeping track of your restless spirit jobs. So
thank you. Thank you, Pat.
China gets it done. Steven says, yes, indeed they did. Indeed they do. So, all right. So yes, this is where the plot thickens. And you sort of like, I know this is where my head goes. Is like, okay, this is obviously going to be a setup so he can kill the emperor, the king. It's like where your brain's kind of going there. So you're playing devil's advocate. And then the movie goes, aha, I know what you at home are thinking. And I, the emperor, or I, the king, am now going to call you out that I see your trap. I see your schemes. I see you for who you are. Well, this is the sequence that goes with the other shot. That's not fair. You're cheating. You're going to distract me. If we get past that. Oh my gosh, just that scene is the scene, man. Ooh, that's so good. So yeah, this is where the king's like, no, I think you're lying to me. I think that you are not telling me the truth, because I have met those two assassins. I've seen them in action. They are people of honor. They would not lie, betray one another so easily. Blah blah blah. You're here to kill me. Okay, and then he starts discussing what he thinks actually happens, and you start to have a little bit of that sort of thing where you have look at, like you said earlier, right? It's sort of like now the narration kind of shifts, like, oh, I'll tell my version of what I think happened. It's not this scene though. Yeah. Okay, now we're getting closer. Well, it's still a blue scene though, but I think it's the same thing, right? Yeah.
A lot of the sequence was all blue, so this is part of like the blue section of the film.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So they start to twist and turn. Go like, well, wait a minute. No, I don't believe you. I don't think so and so betrayed so and so. I think you did this, you did that, that kind of thing. So that's kind of we get into the convoluted and twists and turns and nature of what actually is true. Because now you're kind of like, oh wait, the king is now calling me out for what I think, and starts to tell another possible story. And I have to be honest, I almost felt like in the back of my mind, I actually did kind of have a laugh. I had a sequence, I paused it, and I was like, I really like the movie Clue, how it could have ended this way. Remember that movie, how the movie ended and that kind of thing. Oh, it could have ended this way, or it could have ended this way. But this is how it really ended. So it was kind of like that, where it's sort of like it keeps you on your toes, but then it does this. It sort of showcases these incredible moments. And yeah, if you have more stills of this, just phenomenal action sequences. Again, the scale with the soldiers. Look at the off-kilter nature. That is extremely unorthodox to take your camera and turn your horizon like this. Like it's completely, everything is unorthodox. I don't know how Christopher do it. Well, I do know because it was a foreign film. Like he would not get this through Hollywood. Hollywood never make a film like this. I don't think. I don't even think Crouching Tiger. I haven't watched Crouching Tiger in a while. I don't think I own Crouching Tiger. I think it's a little bit more commercially structured, whereas this film is a lot more unorthodox, in my opinion. So, two genres that will always find an audience: martial arts and Western. Sometimes they are the same film. Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven. Yes,
It's true.
Yeah, this is like that in a lot of ways. It's sort of like the samurai of no name, right? Rolls into town. He's killed these baddies. He's telling your story, king, and you don't quite know his motivation. You're trying to unearth his motivation. He's a kick butt, take names, and then some kind of guy. Gord's Crouching Tiger is excellent. Hero is superior. I think Gord, I don't want to speak out of turn because I have not watched Crouching Tiger in a while. I'm 99% sure I don't own it. So what are your thoughts?
I would agree with that. I would absolutely positively agree with that. I watched both of these movies. Obviously, I watched this one before we did this stream, and I saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon like last month. So this is the superior movie. Crouching Tiger's good, but it's not this movie. And you've got some fellow actors that are in this that were in Crouching Tiger as well.
True. What's her name? Zhang Ziyi? Ziyi, I think is how you say her name.
Yes.
Yeah, she plays Moon in this, and I think she plays Jen in Crouching Tiger. Don't quote me. Someone in chat fact check me. Pretty sure that she plays Jen. It's Chow Yun-fat. I really enjoy Crouching Tiger. I'm not trying to dish on it. Michelle Yeoh, of course, is in it. It's beautiful. It's a great film. But I think I agree with Loki, and I will say it's because of this. It's because of the color palettes. It's because of this lake. It's because of the arrows. It's because of the blue sequence that we didn't want to spoil too much that prompted Loki's workplace memories. It's that makes this superior. So
you know, we you know that scene. There's a scene in this where you see them doing calligraphy. Okay.
Yes.
The difference between this movie and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is you, me, Ironcaster sitting down and writing in cursive. This is that crazy ass calligraphy translated into a film. While we sit there and write in cursive, and it might look pretty, it might look nice, that calligraphy is almost impossible to do and is absolutely a million times more beautiful than our shitty ass cursive. It's breathtaking. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between these two movies is this is that calligraphy scene. When you see that and you're like, oh my God, and all those arrows are coming through, that is the chaos that is this movie that translates into art. Where everything for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is your nice, neat cursive that is standard.
Yeah, I was looking at it to see because Ang Lee directed Crouching Tiger. It's a Columbia picture. It's an American picture, basically. It's got American roots. It was made to distribute here, whereas the other one was made for China and then came here later because of the Tarantino story we talked about. Ironcastle, can you go back to that other sequence real quick? So I want to make mention to the kick butt nature of this film. So a lot of times people have shows or streams or videos or panels about kick butt martial artists and things like that. Now, this is a film that gets ignored in those conversations, which is fine. This is not that type of flashy film. But this sequence, when he's trying to showcase, so Nameless is trying to explain why they would trust him, and he had to prove himself as being this fast blade and how precise he would be. And they drop all this stuff, and he basically is. I mean, this is such a cool, incredible sequence of him splitting this. Again, I'm the nerd that rewound this like 3 times to watch this sequence again. Yeah. How exaggerated?
With one thrust, he's able to split a single white paintbrush amidst the sea of black.
Yeah.
And
it
seems like
seconds. Yeah.
Without damaging any of the others. Like, this is a phenomenal accuracy he's able to show off.
Yeah, his sword work and the way they show you more than you could possibly explain, I think almost like you can't get your head around it. Like, the idea that someone could be this good is just it's sort of like mind-blowing. Steven says Crouching Tiger is serviceable. I think it's a little better than serviceable, Steven, but I'll take what you got. This is poetically inspiring, aesthetically conspicuous. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I'll get you there. Don't sell Crouching Tiger so low, though. Yeah.
And none of what you're seeing, that I want to be clear on something, because there is the over-the-top nature of some of this. None of what you are seeing in real time. Everything that you see, all of these action scenes, everything is being recounted.
It's the story. It's the folklore.
The only thing you actually see is the blotting out of the sun at the end when that army you see at the beginning fires their arrows. That's the only action scene you see actually happening in real time. So is this all embellished? Is this all being, overplayed? You don't know. You want to believe that these masters, these epic martial artists have actually done all this, but you don't know, because
how else could they have survived, right? The myth is born. How else could it have survived? How could these 2 people have survived 3,000 soldiers? There's no other explanation. Right. They have to be this superhuman. They have to be this incredible.
That's right.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's such a good point too, because of, and Stephen, you're saying this as well, that the show not tell is almost a metaphor for telling you what might have actually happened. Like, it's such a great way. Oh my gosh, these things. I'm such a cinematography nerd. You guys know, everyone out there, you guys know, if you've been listening to us long enough to know, this is my kind of film where I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's just, and it can just be on. I don't have to, it's not, I mean, I don't even know is it rated? I mean, I assume is it rated R? I don't even know what kind of rating.
It's rated. It is rated.
I don't think it's graphic at all, though.
PG-13.
Yeah, I don't think it has anything, because I mean, I guess the sex sequence is insinuating enough that I would be PG-13. I get that part. I don't think that even there's
no cursing.
No cursing, no nudity at all, no cursing, and no like really gross blood or anything like that. I mean, they have worse stuff on network television nowadays.
Well, they have to, the censors there are way worse. They're way worse to get something in a theater than it is here. At least it was 10 times more complicated in 2000 than it is now.
Forces creativity, right? It forces, like, this is why the Bahubali sequence, I gotta make an Indian cinema metaphor. For those of you who didn't watch this sequence, in Bahubali, there's a scene where the star of the show, there's a musical sequence, but instead of just being a musical sequence, they're having sort of a dance fight, and he is undressing the super sexy lady and redressing her, and it is super erotic without ever being gross and over the top. It doesn't show nudity. It doesn't do it. This element of censorship, when they embrace it in the right way, it creates a new lane for creativity. Is to not say, all right, well, I should not do it, or I shouldn't talk about it. It's like, well, how can I make this work? And this movie does this brilliantly. We know how graphic and how brutal some of this stuff is without having to see even Tarantino. Like Tarantino went crazy with Kill Bill. He was paying homage to all sorts of other films. He went nuts compared to a film like this. Yeah, they all fight in shade. Yeah, Pat, that was the preemptive. Yeah, for sure. Lady Mist is here. Holy cow, Lady Mist! Thank you for dropping in, hanging out. Awesome.
Guardian of the Void. Good afternoon.
Talking hard. All right. So, all right. So yeah, just keep moving, Lancaster. There's just some great. Again, look at the scale, the number of extras that they have. They're getting mowed down by these assassins. Again, like Loki said, this is through these stories, this folklore that's being explained of who these people are, this myth that's building around them. And I don't know. Again,
and I mean, just to point out, like all the bodies of people that are just laying down, as if to imply, like all these men were mowed down by these two assassins on their way to get to the emperor's home.
Yep. Yeah, we're transitioning. So this is the green flashback sequence of them mowing down basically 3,000 soldiers, and the emperor and Nameless is working through like what is actually the story, what actually happened. You're getting different versions and different narratives and things like that. And these are basically like superheroes. It's just totally crazy. I love both these movies, Pops, and had to be here. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you are. Hero is just special. It's such a great film.
And this is a absolutely beautiful fight sequence that goes on here. Just the use of these flowing curtains that adds this element of mystery to it. You don't know quite where the assassin's going to be. The emperor's in his throne. This is, of course, the event that would then cause him to remove all of the excess decorations from the throne room, so you get to see what it should have looked like in its splendor and glory, as sort of told in this little flashback here.
Oh, thanks for explaining that too, because that was something that you saw early on. Because the still that we showed didn't show you that the room is very barren, and there's a few lines explaining, like, so he had all this stuff removed because people could hide behind them, and therefore they could jump out, they could assassinate him, things like that. So this is giving you that backstory later with these assassins, and it's done with these drapes and curtains, and everything is movement, tons of movement, which again, it just showcases how cool these sequences are planned out and structured.
And if Jet Li's character, Nameless, if he approaches too close to the throne where the king is sitting, he will immediately be killed. There are lines he cannot cross. And every time he tells one of these stories, he gets to go a little closer to the king. So every time as he's telling this tale, he is slowly being invited closer and closer up to the throne, to the king, so that he can make his play.
Yep.
So I'm kind of using this site for the first time here. One of the kind of neat things I'm seeing as I'm looking at it is just a brief aside. If I were to click on any one of these colors here, it'll pull up like other images of it used in different movies like this as well. So it's kind of a neat little feature I found.
Very, very cool. Christoph says, I haven't seen Hero in a long time. Kind of forgot about it. Well, that's another reason why we picked it, my friend. Hopefully this will prompt you to run out there and give it a go. Check it out, because it is a beautiful, beautiful film.
You haven't seen Hero in a long time? The Emperor's displeased.
Yes. He is very, very dramatic. That should be cropped and used for something else. That's how I feel when I watch some of these shows.
So to kind of explain a little bit of what happens here, the assassin, he comes this close, and he winds up throwing this bit of his sword that just nicks the Emperor's throat to show he came within a centimeter of death. The assassin has some revelation about why he shouldn't. What was the Emperor trying to achieve in trying to unite all of these little individual kingdoms in order to ultimately create China? And so this is just kind of the moment of us seeing, like, he came this close, but he didn't do it. we get to see sort of the Emperor's reaction here. This is sort of the Emperor's side of events that had happened.
Yeah, there's so many great little little pieces and things like that that are kind of in here, and it almost like it goes by too fast. Like I had to kind of like rewind a little bit and kind of soak it up again, make sure I kind of got everything, because just there's so much movement and things like that. I really wanted the great appreciation of everything. I think that's why it just holds up so well, right? Yeah. All right. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Look at the massiveness of this set, the massive of this design and flowing nature of everything.
And that's not green screen. None of that's green screen. None of that's CGI. Yep. No, that's all them. Ladies and gentlemen, is set design.
Yeah. Yeah. Cope is in the house. Hey, brother. Hero, House of Flying Daggers, Crouching Tiger, had great run. Classic Kung Fu films in the late 90s, early 2000s. Indeed. Indeed. And yo to you, brother. Yo to you. Yeah, this is a clinic. This is like a clinic. It's almost like martial arts, kung fu, art film, action film. There's just so many elements to this. I don't know. Folklore. Yeah. And at the heart, it's a folklore adventure film. Yeah, for sure. The white sequence. So again, spoiler alert for those of you who have been with us here for a minute. We're definitely getting into the spoilers now. So when we get to the white sequence represents truth. Well, this is what really happened. And then you sort of kind of get this new backstory of kind of piecing together exactly what some of the conversations were when Nameless goes to them and explains what had happened, the death of Sky, and kind of what he wants to do. It's like, oh, wait, he wasn't really killed. This is what we agreed on. This is what we did. It's like, oh, okay, so he's trusting you. Yeah, that's what's actually happening in these sequences. It just kind of changes everything, and it does it in such a smart and mature way. Like it treats us with respect, right, Loki? Like it makes us feel like they appreciate us.
Yeah, and you get to the story that he told the king, and then you get what the king thinks happened, and then you get honesty. You get what was real. And some of the over the top stuff isn't even shown. So was it all just made up? Was it all because heroes, sometimes there's this thing where everything gets overhyped, and the guy that might have saved another guy actually went through 1,000 enemy soldiers to save that guy, when we all know that that's not exactly what happened. Right. So what's truth and what's not? And some of it is never shown. So that is up to you. That leaves it up to you. And that's one of the most beautiful things about the movie, is some of those questions are yours to answer. Did this really happen like this? What wasn't shown to you? You get the truth of the characters. How much of it was exaggerated and how much of it was legend?
Yeah, the urban legend line, because of the white chapter, is like they took like not really an eraser, but took something and just smeared the urban legend line. So now you're kind of like, okay, hold on, this is what happened, but I don't have all those action sequences. So which pieces are what? Guess what? You don't get to be told. You don't get to be spoon fed some gruel and this cheap generic story. No. You got to fill in all that for your own self and go along the rest of the journey here as we kind of wrap things up. As Nameless has now moved himself within 10 paces. So now he's within striking distance of being able to kill the king. So this last chapter is having you explain what the actual agreement, what the pact was, what the sequence of events that kind of got Nameless to this point are and were.
And what his goal is, what his ultimate goal is.
Right.
And also, what was it that caused the other assassin to stop when he came within inches of his goal? Why did he hesitate? Why did he not? Is this man who came to truly understand the Emperor like no other, and it was an enemy.
Yeah, and this is where the story really, really gets deep and heavy and smart and clever. So before we get there, there's a little bit back and forth mention of Jet Li's Fearless. Ironcaster is mentioning The One. So there are plenty of others that are out there just great. So wouldn't
I'm
put The One in the
Eula.
same category. Bit of a corny movie. Yeah, it's okay. Super Cop 3. Super Cop 3. Yeah. Kung Fu Cinema. Idea of fighting 10,000 people is like fantasy myth, like Dracula. Super Cop is so good. Only Jackie Chan movie I like more is Legend of the Drunken Master. Yes.
Wheelbarrow.
Yes. So probably next year, because we did a whole month. We did 3 or 4 shows in a row for martial arts. We're all big fans of that genre. So all of you earmark that. Let us know if you'd like to join us for one of those shows, because we probably will do the same thing we did last time and have a guest in and just kind of run through 3 or 4 of those and just have some fun for a few weeks. Trying to stir up some more interest in those films. That's for sure.
I think if we do that, we should kind of cross the bridge. We do a Jackie Chan movie, we do a Jet Li movie, and then we cross the bridge with the two together in Forbidden Kingdom, where we got them both together.
Okay. Maybe we'll see. Yeah. All right. I really have to admit, the one thing that the third act does for me is it makes me see how good Jet Li is. So I'm not trying to take away his body of work. There's a lot of cheesy roles. He's good in this whole film. I'm not trying to diminish the earlier sequences, but I've long said one of the things that always blows me away is when I have an actor who can act without saying lines. In the eyes and the facial movements, and there's little subtleties, and he blows the sequence out of the water, in my opinion. So, yeah. Well, the dagger is there in front of him, so that's actually very much near the end of the film, very end of the film, right?
Yes. Yeah, because this is the ending sequence here.
Right. Before that, Loki, let's talk about the white sequence a little bit. We'll talk about the unpacking of what the truth kind of is. So I think it's a very interesting concept of why you wouldn't kill this guy that's obviously rampaging across the kingdoms and villages, and everyone's got an axe to grind with this guy. These are the master assassins. All this is happening. The white chapter kind of sets up, oh, wait a minute. What if? Go ahead.
What if he was better? What if he, instead of being a negative force, could be the greatest positive force that they could ever have? You got to think, if he has done all these things to be where he's at, right? He's pissed off all these people. He's angered all these enemies. He's got all these foes. But what if he's the best hope that they have? If at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, he ensures 100 years of peace, is that worth all the damage that's been done? If he's the best hope they have for peace, for a unified nation.
Like a couple of examples we get in the movie of some of the terrible acts he does includes wiping out the kingdom that Jet Li had belonged to. And of course, we also saw examples of him wiping out those villages. Or it seems like not a square inch of the villages spared of arrows. Mm-hmm. But then he also talks about this idea of unifying them under one language. We have 19 words there are 19 ways of saying the word sword. What if we unified it to one?
Mm-hmm. So everyone could communicate easier. Yeah.
Yes.
So that master assassin is the one that sort of like unlocks the possibility, that sees the good in what everyone else sees as evil. And he says, look, all my advisors, all my cabinet, everyone around me sees me as this tyrannical monster. They're here because they fear me, whatever. This assassin who literally got within harm's way to murder me saw me as the vessel that could be used to bring good, as you said, Loki, for decades, 100 years, right? And he stopped short. So when Nameless comes to them and you have this is all unraveling, he's trying to explain that to Nameless, going, listen, you have to not do this. You have to understand the potential here. And at first, Nameless refuses to do so. But then you sort of see, and it's this great sequence. I don't know, should we spoil like the way the king starts seeing the calligraphy? Because that's the key. That's the unlocking for the king, right? He sees it for himself. He's like, oh, wait a minute. This is what he's thinking about me. Ah, I see what I can do. I think it's very, very powerful. Very, very good.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful film. Beautiful stuff. He's just, when he sees the calligraphy, which is the 20th word for sword, he now sees it as more than just a word. He sees the metaphor in this. He sees the power of standing down. And I want to say something here. And this is, again, the irony of hero being in the title. It struck me in this sequence today because I was thinking about some of the stories we have learned over the last decade or two where things have gotten declassified, of like the Cold War type stuff where Soviet Russia and America are at odds with one another, and how Reagan and Gorbachev were both, they both have these reputations. And yet at the same time, when you start to read and unpack a lot of these behind the scenes conversations, they both were given opportunities in these scenarios about pushing the button, right? Basically global thermonuclear waste of the world, right? And they both had independently, without knowing the other one, had said they weren't going to push the button. I'm not doing it. And there were several examples where Gorbachev in particular had said, I'm not doing that. Like, wouldn't do it, wouldn't lay waste. So when you have an emperor like this, a king at this point, not really an emperor, king, I think it's the title in the movie, but an emperor for all practical purposes, when he can unlock his power to understand, yes, you are tyrannical and you have been, but you could also be the dove. You could also be the person that goes, no, we're not doing that. And we're going to do this that's going to create the maximum peace and prosperity and freedom for my kingdom.
And everybody has to listen.
Yeah,
everybody has to listen. It's not just he has a voice. It's that everybody has to listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jan is here. Hey there. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully my little girl's doing all right. Great to see you guys. And by the way, thank you folks for sending me the Catania sent me pictures of the baby laughing, which made my day, especially when you're in a hurricane. You need something to make you smile. It made Mrs. Pops and I smile very much so. So thank you for that. Let's see. They're talking about Jet Li movies. Nas is here. Says, this is so darn good. Watched it around a year ago. Still holds up. Oh, yeah, brother. This is freaking great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. And then just this finale, which I think is so mature. I don't know exactly how to explain it. It's almost like it is sort of wrapped with some sadness and the reality of, well, you can't let Nameless walk away. He goes in for the kill. And this shot is beautiful because you don't know if he's running through or not. But the fact that there'd be consequences, you couldn't let someone like this do this without having consequences.
No.
So I think it's just great. I think it's great to have an epic end in tragedy, right? We saw with Braveheart, right? Braveheart's one of these films, and then you get to this end and it's very tragic. And you're like, oh, crap, yeah. This film's very similar. Very similar. He gets a hero's journey. Look at that. Just beautiful, beautiful shots in this film. The only thing that makes or keeps Talk Hard from being better is that we can't sit and watch this together.
Oh, yeah.
That there, just be like, oh, man, look at this scene. It's so good. I know there are ways to do it, guys, but it's just, oh. And the way he walks in, now he's walking out. The gunslinger, the samurai, just, the changer of a nation. It's crazy. Jet Boy's genetically experimented as a mystical Chinese grandma. He's a strange looking dude, I have to be honest. They definitely it's done something to him. So jet fuel can't melt steel beams, but Jet Li can. That's funny. So yeah, we can kind of wrap through the arrows and just this finale where we actually do have like a real moment. We're not having memories, we're not having flashbacks, we're not having tales. It's like this is actually how things end, and you're sort of like left to want to rewatch the movie to kind of piece the puzzle together. And then of course word gets back, we're in the white, so we're in the truth of, go back to the other two assassins, and yeah. She's not happy that he stopped Nameless from going through with it, and then realizes why he did that. And I think it's great. I'm not sure we should spoil that. Maybe we should just figure out how to skip around what her fate is, if you could. Yeah, very good.
Can we show off that a little bit of that arrow sequence?
No, the arrow sequence I think is fine because everybody understands it's not going to end well for Dudley's character. We can't let him, but it does change the direction of the dynasty. It does change the direction of history. Her sequence though, I think is almost like special. Like I think it's so. This is what we get. Look at this shot.
Blots out the sun.
Yeah, it is. Look at that. That is gold. How did they film that shot? I don't think I've read how they filmed that shot, how they pulled that one off. So, but yeah,
and even in the end, though, they treat him with
he gets a hero funeral.
Enough.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, because he's a hero. He saves how many millions of lives by changing the direction that the king was going. Like, oh, we're going to try something different now. I think that's so powerful. So powerful. All right. This shot almost creates a bird-like image. Yeah, it does. It's like such a beautiful silhouette almost, the way it's like perfectly laid out there. Yeah.
A true tyrant isn't going to change. A true tyrant will be a tyrant till the end of his days. Someone who learns and grows and moves beyond the labels other people want to put on them. And that's exactly what happens here, because he was a warlord. He got here by winning, but that's not all that defines him. I think that's what that first assassination attempt, and that's what this really proved, not only to his people but himself as well, as this is not what defines me. What defines me is what I'm going to do with all the power that I do have.
I think people misconstrue the movie. Let me ask you your thoughts, because I think because of the way the movie ends, people that think this movie is very pro-authoritarian, but I think it's what you're saying. I think it's not. I think it's a very I hate using the term democratic, but I think it's a movement away from violent authoritarianism. Not that it's,
yes,
you know what I mean? It's like it's trying to say using a softer hand. The movie is not meant to be, I don't want to say a critique of the communist regime or their government, but it's at least a critique of, we don't have to be violent. We can use your power for good. You can use your power to maintain a better situation for everyone. So this is where we get into some of the
get a touch of that in
history
the
and
end.
folklore. Yeah. And it's like loosely based on like a real assassination attempt and things like that. I didn't really try to parse out what's truth and what's not truth. The movie's, it's been a minute, and it's also hard to know like what was written or interviews back then, because we had this 2-year gap from when it came to America and things like that. So yes. Oh, by the way, that's a great name. Chris, the Prince of Persia. Huh.
Yeah, I hear he's got a couple games out about his adventures.
Yeah, the Chris Persia adventures, the Prince of Persia. All right.
Are you guys saying he's the Prince of Wrenches?
He might be the God King of Wrenches, so Prince would be beneath him. So yeah, So, final thoughts, Ironcaster.
At the time this movie originally came out, when I had first seen it back in most apparently 2004, I didn't quite appreciate it like I do now. Mind you, I would have been about 14, 15 at the time. Or wait, no. Yeah, no, about 14, 15. And, I'm just kind of like, I just want to see a cool martial arts movie. It's like, it wasn't something at the time I was quite ready for, but I appreciate more now. I think there's a lot of interesting nuance in kind of how, much like this story has been told over and over again throughout the film itself. So you're seeing the layers to it. Even this movie itself is sort of a continued expression of that.
Okay.
And I think that's what helps elevate it above more kind of bog affair martial arts movies, which I'm a fan of. I like those. This is something of a different beast altogether.
Agreed. Loki.
This is that badass onion you pick up at the store that you're like, wow, I've never seen an onion like this before. Because the more layers you peel back, like Ironcaster said a minute ago, the more you're going to love this movie. It is visually outstanding. The cinematography is a 10. The special effects are a 10. The wire work is a 10. Some of the best wire work you will ever see in a movie. The story is a 10. This is probably in the at least the top 3 foreign films I've ever watched. It's beautiful, and the more you peel back that onion, the deeper you get into it, the more layers that come off, the better it gets. So, like Ironcaster said, you might go and see this once and be like, I'm not really getting what Loki and Pops and Ironcaster were talking about. You might watch it again and be like, oh wow, I just picked up on this and this, and I'm seeing this, and those layers. The more you peel back on this movie, the more you're going to realize that the story is in depth. It's intense. It's all art. They really did. It's the calligraphy aspect of it. This movie is the film version of calligraphy. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think the knee-jerk reaction would be to have like silly responses to the wire works and the martial arts, or things that are sort of like outside your comfort zone of of typical martial art films that you might be familiar with, and you see movies like this. And then when you sort of like get the story and it really, really sinks in, and you sort of kind of like get the whole timeline in your head, you start to understand the folklore elements versus the truth elements and the twists. And you start to get, okay, then you have the layers of what actually is happening, and the mythos that kind of moves the characters in different directions than you thought they were. Like they really have very complex story arcs, and it's hard to sort of unpack that even in our hour and do them justice without doing like character studies on each one of them, and doing it justice. And I think that's what Loki was saying with the rewatching and the peeling of the onion, because you end up just sort of like getting this multiple times, multiple ways, and so much more depth out of it. It is way above the standard of where people usually hold a film. It's definitely way above that level. So last thoughts from you guys in chat. Let's see. Steven says this film plays some tricks with the audience, like Princess Bride, The Usual Suspects. Yeah, those are good examples. Those are good examples where that when you start rewatching those films and start picking up on the layers, start picking up on some of the dynamics and, character arcs and things like that, it's very complex. This is a more artsy film than either of those two. Definitely, this is more of like the martial arts, but with like a lot more like an art house. Because again, it's the cinematography, it's the calligraphy, as Loki was saying. Definitely, for sure. Definitely, sure. Great choice. Definitely a great pick. I've been kind of like creating lists of things that we've done to kind of parlay that into another video or a panel discussion at some point. And I have one of those like most underrated films list. And this is definitely one that's on that list. And now I'm trying to figure out how to how would I sequence that or grade that against other films? You know what I mean? Like how underrated it's, because this is significantly underrated on that story level for sure. I think people appreciate it for the colors and the cinematography. I think that ship is kind of caught up, but I don't think people have kind of caught up on the story depth, in my opinion. So
this isn't a movie I would be going to watch like, every month or so. This is one to kind of, take it off every once in a while, maybe every few years, kind of sit down like, yeah, I want to go rewatch this again. Hey, maybe when we get a 4K release in a couple of years, it'll be time to pull it back out and see just how much better this looks. I think ultimately, I probably would just any old weekend, I'd probably rather go through on like the Drunken Master, or the One, or a lot of the other kind of Bog Affair martial arts films. This feels more like like you said, the art piece. This is something to special occasions go and enjoy.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. That's a fair assessment for sure. All right, gentlemen, it's good. Next week is Tombstone. He's quiet. I was expecting his hoo-ah, his cheering, his rejoice. Yes, Tombstone is indeed next week. Loki's
Don't you want to play
film.
for blood? I'm your Huckleberry.
I'm
That's
your
just my
Huckleberry.
game.
Yes.
But Doc, I was only fooling around. I wasn't.
Such a great film. Definitely top 5 for me for sure. Debatable about the top tier, because the top tier is like 3 different westerns that are also different, and I have such a hard time. I don't even know how to compare them, to be fair. It's difficult.
Just give Tombstone the prize. Give it the gold medal. I
can't pick one over the three. The 3 are there. That's The Good, Bad, the Ugly, Unforgiven, and Tombstone. Those are my 3. The Searchers is probably my favorite of the Wayne films, even though there's a couple more I want to rewatch and give that a fair run. And then I have a 5th place that it's like a moody one, like just different ones kind of fit that bill, because there's a lot of good westerns. So, but yes, we haven't done a western in a minute, so let's do a western. That'll be next week, Tombstone. So we'll enjoy that. A week after that, I'll be Robot Jocks. So we'll be doing that. So yeah, Loki month. It's Loki month because he's gonna get married soon. We don't have him for a couple weeks. So, but we're gonna break bread. We're gonna break bread. And give you down
as long as we get the wedding license back, which we're waiting on now.
You gotta make it legit.
From Florida, because God help us, the hurricane, and now there's another hurricane sitting out in. That looks like it's going to possibly hit Florida. And our fingers are crossed. Do not mess up the island. Please don't mess up the island. Because if that happens, oh, wow. I don't know what we're going to do. I think
I have a farm.
But we definitely
I have a farm. You'll
island.
come to Florida. We'll just get you to the farm. We'll put it together. We got you. We'll put it together. We have tables. We don't have chairs. We'll have table. I have to get chairs. For my daughter's wedding, which will be at the end of this year. So we have tables and this beautiful pond. It's not, it's not the Keys. It's not an island, and I don't have an ocean, but I have some beautiful scenery. We'll make it happen. You're getting married.
We need a young priest and an old priest.
Oh, I'm certified. I'm a pastor. I can marry you.
There you go.
You come on down. We'll get you married in the barn next to the pigs.
No, we're not gonna do it. We don't do it down in the barn. That's a different thing altogether. No, I'm certified. I can marry you. Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah, I got you covered in that regard. Don't worry about that part. That's easy. Probably done a wedding before. So yeah, the current storm runs only for like a week. So it's like this Sunday we'll know. But yeah, it's headed to Florida. I actually think it's steering more towards like the Carolinas, and they do get hit a lot. So don't think that one's going to hit us, but we'll see. Penny's asking about your gift card. Maybe if you guys, if Chris is still there, he could do that link for your registry. That'd be cool.
No, I didn't, Penny.
All right. I have to look out for that. Get him on that. He'll make a note. So that's awesome. Gord, what are you referring to? Gord, help me so I know what you're saying. Keely Chow. Hey, brother. What's going on? Hero, man. Jet Li. If you haven't seen it for a while or never seen it at all, maybe give it a go. So,
I couldn't believe they made a movie. This was the movie that the Nickelback song was based on.
Put him in timeout for that. He needs timeout for that. You can't make a Nickelback reference here. You behave, young man. You behave, young man. Soon there'll be a. Well, now we're opening up a slot on the Talk Hard panel for a week or two, as Ironcaster has put himself in the corner for Nickelback. Penny says, "Look under the paperclip." There you go. Oh, Tombstone line. Yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry, I got you, man. Say when. Got it. Okay. Sorry about that, Gord. The chat and our conversations don't run at the same speed. Let's see. Yeah, all right. So yeah, Penny will connect with you, Loki. Make sure you got what you need there and get that all squared away. So that's good.
Thank you, Penny.
Ironcaster, my brother, what is going on with you this week? What's on the weeks ahead here, my friend?
Well, I think here in about an hour or two, I might be getting on with the T-shirt historian. We're going to do a little bit of a kind of midweek stream. I think we're talking about starting up. So I think we'll just kind of do a little bit of kind of coverage of things coming up from this week. Maybe some random tabletop news that's come up, which thankfully Wizards of the Coast has decided to not do anything this week yet, but then again, Labor Day. So the week's only starting. I don't know, maybe they'll decide this week that, that's right. Last week they decided the word tribal is apparently offensive.
Tribal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just keep doing your own thing. Don't even acknowledge people. So no, yes, he definitely has it scheduled. So yeah, that is set for 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Let me get this link.
Thank you. I didn't realize he had made a video. He had scheduled it yet.
Yeah, there you go. I have to say that Dr. Pepper shirt rocks. Hey, listen, because I need, if there's an endorsement to be had, that is probably one that I would need, because I'm a walking advertisement. I would say, unless it's a place that does not sell Dr. Pepper, particularly Diet Dr. Pepper or Zero, I don't drink anything else as far as soda goes. And I don't drink soda all the time, but I would say that's my guilty pleasure. I don't drink coffee or anything like that. So awesome. Great. Well, I look forward to seeing the stream there. I'll be trying to get some videos together, but that's awesome. But yeah, you've done you had a stream this last week too. People need to know about. Make sure check out Ironcaster, get yourself subbed over there. Check out that content. Make sure you hit the video button, but also hit that live button and check out that content there. So you don't want to miss out on something like that.
This past week I went and I threw out a video, just kind of talk a little bit about One Piece before the series came out. Of course, I flubbed the audio on it, but hey, this is a learning process, and I keep finding some new problem that always pops up. By the way, great series. I definitely recommend it, and it looks like the internet as a whole has widely come to accept it as sort of a Pirates of the Caribbean stand-in for the time being, to put it mildly.
Yeah, I've liked what little bit I've seen, and I will be doing a review as well. So Chi is loving this hero movie. She likes it so much. It's a 1/6 scale replicants of the two main protagonist sword, Jet Li's, and the sword before and after it was broken. Very, very cool. Very cool, Chi. All right. Always enjoyed some classic A&W. Yeah, Mrs. Pops enjoys that Zero A&W. She's got that. That's our backup to go to. So the unlicensed Mr. Pibb. Yeah, I'll drink Pibb. Yeah, Pibb is the backup at the movie theater. Our movie theater does not have pepper. It has Pibb. So that's my go-to as well. And Mrs. Pops will not drink that. So I know that I'll have a soda all to myself. Just saying.
There you go.
Enjoyed your show, Pop. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here, Lady Mitch. You're always welcome to hang out with us. Always take your recommendations and suggestions as always. So Loki's Gift Registry is out there in the ether. We will definitely try to figure out how to track that down. So Dr. Pepper advertises envy. Wouldn't you like to be a doctor too? Yes, be a pepper. Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too? Zach's making in the house. Hey, brother. Hope you're doing well. All right, so Loki's has got all the crazy shenanigans of every morning. Make sure you are checking out our mischief maker, the crazy creator of chaos, my friend. What is the week hold for you, my friend?
Oh man. Okay, so I don't think me and Daryl are doing Two Tower or the Dark Tower. I don't think we're doing that tonight. I haven't gotten anything from him since earlier, but I'm pretty sure we're not doing that because he hasn't messaged me saying we are going to do that. I've got a stream later tonight with Miss Martin Muses. I am hoping to jump over to Taco Tuesday over on Snowdubs
Mm-hmm.
and try and intercept any Chulo monster shenanigans. I don't know if that's going to actually happen or not, but we'll see. We all stand with Mexican Iron Man against El Perro and the Chulo monster. So, yeah, pro Mexican Iron Man camp here. And tomorrow we've got YouTube talk and hopefully the comic book roundtable and the Thirsty Thursday on Thursday with the Dig Outlaw that night. And then we can review, and I may try and help out with security over at the Cotton Council on Saturday. So we'll see. I'm busy.
Busy week for you, my friend. Holy cow. Chris asked if I'm part Texan because of my appreciation of Dr. Pepper. No, but I want to go see the Dr. Pepper house. Yeah, that would be one of the things. If I make the trip to Texas, I might try to figure out how to work that into my plans to see the Dr. Pepper house post Crowder renovation. So yes.
Well, you've got Dublin too. You've got the Dr. Pepper plant in Dublin, Texas. So
cool.
You might as well also go to the Robert E. Howard home.
Oh, that's true.
And they do tours at Dublin. Yeah. That's where they still have the bats to do glass bottled sodas there. So you can get the original pure cane soda, no high fructose corn syrup with that one.
Very cool.
Coke, cool. If you have the original glass bottle Cokes that have the original sugar in them, peanuts. That's a big thing here. Peanuts, glass Coke with peanuts in them. So.
All right. Let's see. Comic book Wednesdays tomorrow. Comic talk. Just me talking about some different things and some stories. I'm not quite sure what reviews I'll get together. Again, my world's a little crazy post hurricane. Got a lot of TV show reviews to catch up on. A couple movie things I've been working on, that kind of thing. This week's What's Your Story is Troy Pacelli hanging out with me, talking about his journey a lot, some of the things that he's gone through as well. So it's really, really great. It's just a underrated, talented man who loved and is so knowledgeable in so many of these arenas. It's great to be able to spend time with him. And if you didn't get a chance to see it today, we did a little nod to, my hashtag RIP comedy, right? Talking about some of the 80s comedies from 40 years ago and just, we couldn't make Tootsie today. We couldn't make Mr. Mom today. We couldn't make Trading Places today. And, it's sad, and we need to spend a moment and talk about some of those. So,
and the sad thing is those movies are tame. Like, no one even talk about like trying to make Revenge of the Nerds today.
Oh, no. We make mention of like Fast Times and Nerds and some of that stuff that was more edgy. I'm just talking about like the stuff that you would think would be okay, not the racy stuff. Like the racy stuff, you kind of get why they don't want to do that stuff, because we're just going through that phase. And when it comes back around, it's going to be raunchy. That's my theory. When the pendulum swings, man, Lord help us with the kind of debauchery that stuff will go down. So, Penny, you're not the only one. A lot of people have said Gran Turismo is good. I have got that kind of on my radar screen. It's a time management thing, so it may not be a week or two. Because I also want to see The Equalizer 3. That's also on my radar screen. I really enjoyed the first two movies. I mean, the second one's not as good as the first one, but I have a good time. And, what's part of my motto, have a good time. So, well, folks, all of you in chat, Chris Persia holding down stuff, wrenching, doing your thing, man. Appreciate you so much. Pat S, I don't know if you answered me on Twitter, but I didn't know exactly when your birthday is, but happy birthday to you. So tons of great comments and interactions in chat. Thank you guys so much for being here, hanging out with us each week. It's always fun. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough. You guys know how much it means to me to just, have you call you friends and brothers and get to do this, because this is just makes my life. I couldn't believe how sad I kind of felt by not getting to have our stuff last week. I know it's almost pathetic to have to admit that, but it's like you look forward to it so much. You enjoy this interaction and cherishing the stuff that we enjoy, elements of entertainment and RIPs and things like that. And I just really do enjoy it. So, but with that, folks, get out there, make tomorrow a little bit better than today, talk hard, And as always, make sure you make some time to chill. And here's Bob to remind you how.
Ross, all I do is chill. My life is a thrill, for real, Bob Ross. I be too calm for the drama. You don't wanna cause a problem.